Hi there. This is our lecture topic number 2, which is entitled Building Plans and Other Documents. So, when we're doing building construction or applying for a building permit, there are a lot of requirements that are necessary to be submitted, and a lot of personals or engineers involved. And it requires also their signatures, and there's let's say sign and seal of their respective documents. So we'll talk about that, but we'll focus much on the details of the building plans. Building plans is something like a roadmap of the building construction. It's actually uh, it also is the basis of, let's say, materials estimate or the bill of materials, and even the scheduling aspects of the building construction. Then it's the basis. So we'll devote much of our time on the building plans, the contents and templates of the building plans. Okay, so for that we'll discuss first the overview of this building permit and then the National Building Code. Okay, so in our lecture handouts, we it's already stated that the National Building Code is there to provide for all buildings and structures a framework and minimum standards. Okay, let's highlight that out. A framework of minimum standards and requirements. So that's the minimum standards and requirements to regulate and control their location, site, design, and quality of materials, construction, use, occupancy, and uh, maintenance. So recall also that in the previous lectures, we have said that the codes, they're there for the government mandates to follow the codes for the safety of the occupants. Okay, so this applies to location, the siting. So, for example, you're trying to, or you want to build a poultry house, so that has to follow the zoning requirements. Say you can't just build a poultry house on populated areas. Okay, so there has to be some rules regarding this. Okay, so location, siting, construction, alteration, repair, so even repair and conversion, use, maintenance, moving, and demolition and addition to public or private buildings and structures. Okay, so um, the National Building Code is just simply sets forth its several pages document. Um, then it sets forth the details of the construction aspects, and also probably with regard to the design as well. Okay, so in the National Building Code, there is a building classification. So according to section 701 of the code of the when I say the code, I'm referring to the National Building Code. So there's a group, and then the classification. Okay, so there's a group A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay, so it says that for group A, say it's a residential or dwellings. Then for B, residential hotel, apartments. So please refer to our uh, lecture handouts. It's already included there, the details. But I'd like to highlight here that for agricultural buildings, the code specifies agricultural and accessory. So such as the fences, example fence, then accessory or agricultural. So we are in the group J. So why is this necessary? That to know this classification, simply because there is a building permit. So building permits is required before constructing a building. Building permits are required as mandated by the code. So it's actually something like a written authorization granted by the building official, okay, to an applicant. Okay, so before you construct or before you are granted a permit to construct a building, then you have to uh, you have to provide the necessary requirements. So there are a lot of requirements here. Okay, so requirements. Now the requirements, it's listed in our lecture handouts, but I'd like to highlight only a few of the requirements, which is the okay, so 5 sets of building plans, okay, specifications, bill of materials or detailed cost estimates. I say bill of materials. Okay, so we'll highlight it here, but take note that there's still other documents necessary for the building permit applications. Okay, so the building plans, this is actually the blueprint that we indicate the dimensions, the shapes, and stuff like that. Later on, um, we'll discuss the details of this, and we'll also run through a sample building plan. Okay, so this one specification is another set of documents. So it's it's basically something like a document that uh, which is also an integral part of the building plans, but it shows or specifies those things that cannot be expressed in terms of the drawings. Okay, although in some practices or probably most practices, specifications are some part are also included in some part of the drawings. Okay, but um, you can just define it as a separate document. Specifies, like for example, the type or the properties of steel or the brand or its equivalent of cement or whatever construction materials. Okay, and then this one, the bill of materials, is basically the cost, the number of the quantity of the materials that you need for the construction, and as well as the pricing or the cost. Okay, so now let's move on to the template of the drawing plan. So basically, a building plans, the template is that. Okay, so uh, this is the template. Okay, so it's something like that. There's a border, and then there's your title block. So um, basically, what's required is here, this space, the designer or the engineer or architect, and then this one is uh, the project title and location. Project title and location, and at this space right here is the owner's let's say owner's name and probably address. Then the rightmost is the sheet number. Okay, so sheet number. Okay, so although this is the basic, in some building plans, it's also included here the, let's say, the logo of the company. So if you have a company, you can include the logo here. So this is the basic template. Now for the sizes of the building plans, we have A0, A1, A2, A3. So there's a corresponding size. So A3 basically is just if this is for example an A4, then the size would be this big. Okay. So A3, the size is 297 by 420. Now for A2, we have 420 by 594, and that's in mm. And A1 is 594 by 841, and A0 is the largest, which is 841 by 1189. Okay, so in the front sheet, the frontmost sheet, there's actually a column here on this side, and then there's another column here. Okay, so the rightmost columns, or the rightmost space here, this includes a lot of the personals involved, or personals that are required to have their signatures on these spaces. Okay, so for example, the mechanical engineer, or electrical engineer, and stuff like that. Now you just have to visit or to check our lecture handouts for the details, but that's just it. So this space is provided for those personals. Okay, the next part is the table of contents. Okay, so for the table of contents, we have actually a classification for the contents of the plan. Okay, so we have architectural sheets, and then the designation is letter A, and that's here. You'll see that, for example, A 1 of 1, or A 2 1 of 2, something like that. Okay, so architectural sheets, and then for the structural sheets we have S. Okay, and then we also have sanitary or plumbing sheets, designated as letter P. So sanitary or plumbing. Then we also have electrical sheets, then a mechanical plan, or mechanical sheets. Okay, although I'm not sure regarding the designation, because for example, I've also seen a building plan with the details of fire plans, so they label it as F. Okay, so the question is, what if it's not about fire equipment, fire systems? Then I don't know the designation here. Okay, so the content of the architectural sheets are the following. So we have the perspective. Perspective basically is at least will have a feel of the three-dimensional view of the building or the structure, its backgrounds and how it looks like. Okay, and then it also includes a location plan or vicinity map. Okay, so location plan, so it must shows the landmarks, or let's say the, probably you can include the roads. At least it can be seen where that building is to be constructed. Okay, and then another one is site development development plan. So for example, if it's a compound or a large area that has other buildings, so at least you can have a um, let's say an overview of the location of that building with respect to that compound or that area. Okay, so this is something like a much let's say a zoom in view of the location plan. Okay, and then it also includes floor plans. So floor plans is actually something like cutting a section, a horizontal section that cuts through the windows and the doors. So the floor plans, you can see the windows, the doors, and stuff like that. You also have um, what else? Elevation views or side views, and then section views. Okay, what else? There's still others, like for example, schedule of doors and windows. So you can include that here, and the details of, for example, the stairs, or the details of eaves or ramps. So you can include that if you'd like. Okay, so for the structural sheets, basically this is about the structural aspects. So what you'll see here is the example foundation plan or floor framing plan. So for example, if your floor is for the second story, so you need to show the beams that supports the floor, this, the second floor. The floor plans, also roof plans if you'd like, and then schedules and details of beams, columns, etc. Okay, the next is for the sanitary and plumbing. Then um, just go over the lecture handouts. It's stated there. But for these electrical sheets, um, we have an electrical we have electrical layout. So we have a, an electrical layout for the convenience outlet, which we call power layout, and then lighting layout for the lights, and then the switches. Okay, that's lighting layout. Okay, and we also have, what else? We also have um, schedule flows. Okay, at least it shows how you come up with the sizes of the wires and the circuit breakers, stuff like that. Okay, what else? We have the riser diagrams and symbols, specifications. Okay, so for the mechanical, it's also included in our lecture handouts. Okay, so um, now we'll go over a sample building plan documents, and at least we can apply all these stuffs right here. So if there are some portions that I missed or that I did not discuss in detail, then you can just go over my lecture handouts. All right. Okay, so this is an example of a building plan. Okay, so this is the first sheet, or we can call it front sheet. So as I have said, that in the front sheet, notice that we have the perspective, the vicinity map, and then the site development plan, right? So this is the perspective. So actually, this one is our exercise building plan when I enrolled a CAD course. Okay, so this is the one that I can only show to you, since other documents are actually a property of the engineers assigned them, so I can't use them here. But this one, since this is just an exercise, then I think it's just fine to use it here. Okay, so this is what I said, the sheet number, or the architectural sheet. So that's A1. So you notice another would be A2, A3, A4, or it depends upon how many views that you are showing off. Okay, so then next is the S1. That means that's going to be structural sheets. Then if we have letter E, then that's electrical sheets. And for P, plumbing or sanitary sheets. Okay, so here we have this. This is the designer, and then the project title and location. And also in this building plans, they include the revisions and then the sheet contents. Okay, so this is the owner. Space for the owner. Okay, so on the right column, we have this. For example, we have the district, city, municipality. I mean, what's the municipality where you'll construct your building on? Then the land use, land grade, architectural, structural, okay, so on and so forth, and then the table of contents. Oops. Okay, so now let's go on to the next sheet, which is the floor plan. By the way, this building plan is an 8-story building, so it's going to show the various floor plans. For example, the ground floor says it, this is the details. For example, so we have it shows forth the rooms, for example, the reception or lobby, etc. The windows, location of windows and doors, and you'll also notice this one, the balloons. So we have A, B, C, D, E, then 1, 2, 3, 4. That's for reference. Okay, so another one is the section lines. So we have the section lines here. So it means that the section here will be shown in A4, 2 over A4 sheets. So that's the drawing. I think that's the drawing title. So 2, and then on the A4. So drawing number 2 on the A4. So just like this, drawing number 1 on the A2 sheet. Okay, so that's it. So another section is also shown here. Okay, what else? Okay, so here another second and third plan. So it means it's just typical for the second and third floor. So next thing is, okay, this is kind of not clear enough, but it says 4 to 8 typical floor plan. Then we also have a separate floor plan for the roof deck. Okay, so that's all about the floor plans. But also the architectural sheets must also include this front elevations. So it just shows what the building looks like in that elevation. So it must show the distances, for example, from first floor to second floor, and stuff like that. And you'd also notice that the balloons also appears See, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and it has also details like, for example, this. It says Africa's texture wall finish. So all these architectural aspects are shown here. Okay, so the right side elevations is also the same. Okay, so this is it, the section. So the section views. So basically, section views um, is a view that you cut, you know, let's say that you cut so that you can expose the inside of the building or inside of that part. Okay, so at least here it shows where the stair, um, it's showing the elevation views, but at least you'll see the stairs, for examples, and other details. Okay, so the section view would be much appreciable, for example, if you have changes in the elevations. So in the case of, let's say, slaughterhouse buildings where there's a lot of changes in the elevations, then probably that's really needed. Okay, so another cross section. Okay, now let's move on to the structural sheets. Okay, so we are in S1. The structural sheets, uh, sometimes the general notes are included, but on some plans it's not included here. So that's the general notes, and then as I've said, there's the structural sheets should show the details and schedules of structural members. Okay, so for example, we have this typical CHB footing. Okay, so there's a detail. It shows forth the number of bars. Okay, for example, 3 bars as shown. Okay, number 10, so 10 bottom bars at 300 on centers. Okay, what else? So detail of column bar foundations, detail of, what's this? Detail of column lap splice and exterior girder to column connections. Okay, so let's move on here for now. This is the foundation plan. So the foundation plan is actually it shows the details or the location of the columns and footings. So for example, this, you'll see C1 F2, for example. So C1 meaning column 1 and then footing 2. This one is C1 F1, so meaning column 1, but the footing is footing 1, so meaning it, the design of footing 1 is different from the footing 2. So if it's C1, then the design is just the same. So C1, C1. But this one is C2, F3, meaning another column design at footing number 3. Okay, what else? We also have this FTB. So FTB means footing tie beam. Okay, what else? We have this details here. It says on fill. So it shows that 10 mm thick RC slab on fill with 10 mm deformed steel bars at 400 on center both ways. So this is a slab, a concrete slab, reinforced concrete slab, and it has to have rebars, and it says that the rebar is 10 mm deformed steel bars, and spacing is 400 mm on center both ways. By the way, this is not, I think this should not be 10 mm, this should be 100, I think, 100 mm. Okay, so typical floor framing plan. So for example, if you have an elevated floor, say second floor or third floor, then you'll need to have this typical floor framing plan. So it shows that, for example, we have B1, just means that beam number 1. Okay, So if there's a label that's let's say beam number 2, or for example this one B3, so meaning another design of beam or another details. Okay, and we have this S1. Okay, so that's just slab number 1. But this arrow or the symbol right here actually shows a this shows a two-way slab. Okay, so we'll discuss the types of slabs in the succeeding topics. Okay, so now let's move on to the sheet number 3. Okay, structural sheet number 3. So we have schedules, a schedule of beams or schedule of columns. Okay, so there's the this is the label FTB, so footing tie beam. You've seen this in the foundation plans. I don't know what this is. CB1. Anyways, we have B1, B2, B3. So this refers to the beams. Okay, so it just says that for the beam 1, we have 4 20 mm on top, and at the bottom, we have 2 20 mm bars. Okay, so this is the section at the support, and at the midspan, we have this 300 by 450, and the number of bars is like this. Okay, and then the stair spacing is specified like this one. Okay, so by the way, we'll continue our discussion in the next video. See you in the next video.